Today is May 20th, 2022. In Lubbock, Texas, it is 81 degrees and blue skies are shrouded at the horizon with a thin fog of blowing dust. Here on the campus of Texas Tech University, it's quiet after commencement ceremonies wrapped up last week, though parents and new graduates still occasionally pose for their pictures in front of the Texas Tech seal. Meanwhile, as today's history shapes itself, this is the untold story of MaryRose Garcia, born on October 26th of 1962, here in Lubbock, Texas. Hers is a tale about raising children, fostering friendships, and achieving her dream of being a social worker here on the South Plains. Could you introduce yourself?
Sure, my name is MaryRose Garcia.
Okay. How long have you lived in the South Plains?
I was born and raised here. I left for maybe a year, but that's it.
Okay. And when were you born?
1962, October 26th.
Welcome. Can you tell me 3 pairs of shoes that have been important to you over your life?
Probably my Converse. I've had Converse off and on. I think I have several different colors for different things. They work for everything. So I think that's about the only thing. You got to have a good pair of boots and a good pair of, tennis shoes, running shoes, but Converse are the main thing.
When did you last sing to yourself, and what did you sing?
To myself, I don't know that I've sung to myself, but to my grandkids and great-grandkids, my last grandkid, we were laughing because I was singing "Oh MacDonald," but my version of "Oh MacDonald" because he was a baby and I had to sing it differently. So I did, and he loves it. I mean, he would love it. All the kids would love it. But we were laughing. I had to go back to the original because we were afraid that when he went to school, he would say, "That's not how you sing "Oh MacDonald," because my mama doesn't sing it like that." So we had to go back to the original. And then, of course, raindrops keep falling on my head with the babies in the shower. That is just something that I just love doing. So those 2 oldies.
When did you last cry?
Oh, God. The better question might be, when do I not cry? I just get very emotional with different, in my job, just different things get to me and I'm just like, it just breaks my heart, The grandchildren, something happens, it just breaks my heart, so I cry. I mean, I'm very emotional, but I'm strong at the same time, but I can be very emotional. So there's no telling. I cry often when it seems right.
If somebody made a movie about your life, what would it be about and who would play you?
Just the crazy life of MaryRose, ups and downs and all arounds, because life, just life in general happens, and there are ups and downs and good and bad. So there would be a lot of that, but in the end, it would be very heartwarming, I believe. And who would play me? God, I don't know. Who's the best looking actress out there? I don't know. I could not tell you who that would be.
Is there something about yourself that your friends and family would be surprised to learn?
I don't think so. I don't think there's anything that would surprise them because most of them would know how much of an open book I am and how straightforward I am, and yet at the same time how vulnerable I can be. So I don't think so.
What's the favorite photograph that you've had or taken in your life. Can you describe it for us?
That would be of my mom. You would have to understand that my mom is right now she has Alzheimer's. But over the years, she was this very strict lady. And now I've got a couple of pictures of her we took when I took pictures of all the grandkids and everything. And she's on a swing. There's one where she's on a swing and she's laughing. It's this full-hearted just laughter, and I love it. And then there's another one. It's me, her, and my daughter, and we're all just laughing, and it's just very. I just love it. It's just very heartwarming because that's how I was always want to see her, and I imagine I probably will not always see her that way.
Can you describe your earliest memory?
Of my life here? Going to school, they sent me to a private Catholic school. Totally different. At some point I said, I don't want to go there anymore, so I went to middle school, which was a public school. And going there, it was just a whole different world in some ways. And I remember somebody wanting to fight me for whatever reason. I don't fight. And I remember walking away from these girls and I'm like, I'm not gonna fight. I don't fight. And I remember walking away and being called a chicken for not wanting to fight. So that was really funny, but I've never had a fist fight in my life. And so that was one of the craziest memories that I think I have.
Who was your best friend growing up?
That would be Becky or Rebecca. She didn't want to play with me. I think I was probably 12 or 13. We lived in one house in the corner. I think her sister lived in this little house behind us. And I used to ride my bike just around our little house. And her mother said, look, there's a little girl, go talk to her. And she said, Mom, I don't want to talk to her. She's a nerd. And her mom said, just go play with her. So she did, and she walks over and she's like so resigned. Do you want to play? And me being very, sure, yeah, my name's MaryRose. And I'm like, hi, and so I'm very happy and excited that she came to play with me. And she's like, she'll tell me later. I was like, oh my God, she really is a nerd. And this is going through her mind while I'm all excited. And we became best friends. We've been best friends ever since.
Describe your first date.
Oh, Lord. That would, oh, wow. It's kind of sad that I don't remember the details of a first date. I don't know it was that we just really dated in the traditional date sense. It was more of a, hey, let's just go hang out. And it was more of a group of friends and things like that. It was my first year in high school, and he was taking me to school, and we were just doing things together. I don't know that it was officially a first date, but I don't know. It was just a group thing. Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
What life lesson did the South Plains teach you growing up?
Life lesson? To be genuine. I think you hear a lot about people here in Texas in general, and especially West Texas. Everybody's pretty friendly. You hear a lot of, hey, how you doing? I go to the store and I say hi to everybody, whether I know them or not. And I've traveled several places, and not everybody's that friendly. The kids will tell me, Mom, Grandma, you know everybody around here. And I'm like, no, I really don't. They're like, we can't go one place without you knowing somebody or talking to somebody. I'm like, well, you got to be friendly. They're like, but you know everybody. And they'll make bets. How much you want to bet that Grandma knows somebody at the next door? And they always win. But, I don't know everybody.
Can you describe a specific family tradition?
Those really have changed over time. I don't remember a specific one of me growing up other than my dad cooking some great food and teaching me lots of ways to cook things. Back then it was killing a pig. Yeah, that was exciting. I loved it. And I haven't, things change and not very many people do that anymore. But now it's cooking. For some reason, if you can't tell, cooking is a big thing among us. We cook for everybody's birthday. You decide what you want to eat and we'll make it happen. So that's a big one.
What would happen on the day when you killed the pig?
Ooh, that was, I remember being little. It would be in like a garage. I don't remember. I just remember the pig, you sliced his throat at some point. He was hanging from something and you drained all the blood out of him. I remember I got the job to scrape the pig. You got a knife and you scraped all those little bitty hairs off the pig so that wasn't, because every part of the pig was used for something. The blood was used for something, the brains, the head, the feet, the skin, pork skins, real pork skins were the bomb. So we would that was an all-day process. So it was a lot of fun, and I wish now that I could see it more so that I could show the kids and the grandkids these traditions and the great-grandkids, because these were very cool traditions, but it doesn't happen very often.
Who was the first family member whose death struck you hard?
That would probably be my dad. My dad that raised me. That was about 40 years ago. He died peacefully in his sleep. And, death is hard. But I held it in. You have to, I was an only child with my parents that raised me. So you have to make things, I was, 19 probably at the time, and just had to make things happen. So take care of things. But it took a few days for it to finally hit, and that was probably the hardest.
When you introduce yourself to someone new, what story might you tell about yourself to help them get to know you?
I think the thing that one right now is what I do. The second thing would be the grandkids. The kids and grandkids are a big part of my life, and I think everybody knows my kids are called my brats. My grandkids are called my brats. So I talk about my brats, good and bad. They're, I love them to death and they drive me crazy, and pretty much it, the grandkids.
What do you do?
I am a forensic interviewer for the Children's Advocacy Center. So I talk to children a lot, and it's about abuse, usually. So that's kind of a tough job.
It's a related question. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Actually, I wanted to be a photographer. I did. If you remember, I told you that I went from being in a private Catholic school to a public school. Well, that first year of public school, it was all new. And one of the things is I had a teacher that needed a person to take pictures for the games and stuff like that. This was the last year. Back then, ninth grade was in middle school still. My mom didn't let me do it. I was just so interested. Mr. Mosqueda, I remember, was like, you can learn how to do this. It was just very interesting, and I wanted to do that. That's what I wanted to do. And for a little while, I pursued, or I can take pictures, and I've done a little bit of, I wouldn't say professional, but I've done, and then I've worked at studios and taken pictures there, and pictures was the ultimate thing, but so.
What was your first job?
Wow. I guess unofficially it would have been hoeing cotton. I thought that was the coolest thing. I couldn't wait till I was able to do that. I think I was 12 or 13, and I remember that they told me, okay, you can go hoe cotton this year with new friends or whatever. So the first day that, I was able to go, I was up like at 4 o'clock in the morning. I had my lunch ready. I was ready. I had long sleeve shirt, a hat, everything that you needed to be out in the hot sun. And I was just waiting for them to come pick me up. And then after a few days, it was like, it's hot. It's hard. Yeah, but I did it. I did it the rest of the summer, and it was still a cool job because it was still a cool job. It was hard, but it was a cool job. That was the first one, and then I did a little bit of waitressing for a friend of the family's restaurant. But officially, I think my first job was at a cottonseed place, and I had some great bosses. And I was in high school, and I did the office. I was secretary in the office. And that was an awesome job. I'll never forget them.
What made them memorable?
About just the job itself and what they taught me. They were really good people. They helped me. I was having my first child my senior year in high school, and I was already working for them. So they were just very helpful. And it was very sad because she died from breast cancer. That was another memorable death now that I think about it. But it was just very hard. She left behind her husband and her son, and they were just wonderful people. So,
how did you end up in your current job?
So, in high school, I became pregnant from a high school boyfriend, and then after that, it was taking care of a child. Then I got married and took care of another child, and so then it was working. So you do what you have to do to raise your children and make sure that they have what they need. I always loved school, but because of that, I didn't get to go on to college after high school. And then at some point I joined a volunteer group called Bikers Against Child Abuse. That children have always been a passion. So I was with them for about 12 years, and it's BACA for short. And at one point, BACA was going to give us all a training. They took us all to a training to learn more about child abuse, so that when we dealt with the children that we dealt with, BACA was an organization that we empowered children when they had to go to court to face their accusers of child abuse. we were there behind them so that they wouldn't feel so afraid to testify or to, go up there and stuff. So that's the main thing, but we did a lot of things with the children throughout the year. So one of the things we did was training. We went to a place called the Children's Advocacy Center, and we went through this full class. And as soon as I was there, I was like, I want to do this job. I want to do this. So I remember the girls that worked there, the interviewers and the director, what do you got to do to work here? What do I need? And of course they told me you need at least a bachelor's in, this or this. I said, okay. That planted a seed. I had grandchildren, and I thought, that's what I want to do. So it took me a few years to actually do it, but the seed was there, and I eventually went back to school very late in life. I received my bachelor's. A job became open. I applied. I was a good fit for it, and that's how I got my job that I currently have as a forensic interviewer. But the seed was planted way before then.
Can you talk about what it was like being a mother in high school?
Hard. Way back then, they didn't allow girls to be pregnant in high school. If you were pregnant and in school, in any grade, there was a particular school that these girls went to, and that's where all the pregnant girls went. Well, I didn't want to go there, so I didn't say anything about being pregnant in high school. It was my senior year. I remember telling one of my teachers, favorite teacher, and I was like, I don't want to go there. And thank God she didn't say anything. She understood because we were already just a few months away from graduation. So I didn't have to go there. But it was tough just having to tell your parents. Back then, parents were like, you're going to marry that boy. Well, no, I'm not, because I didn't think it would last. I didn't think it was the right choice. So, I don't know, right or wrong, I didn't. And my parents were not happy about that. But it was tough, but you just went to work. I went to work and did what I had to do to raise the kid and then the kids.
What was the experience of going back to college later in life like?
I didn't think I was ever going to do it. I was like, how the heck am I going to go to college? I can't even remember. Your memory, your brain, I don't think it works as well as younger kids. So going back to school and seeing all these young kids, it was scary. But at the same time, I'm thinking, I got life experience. I can do this. Okay. And then as I kept going, I thought, I can actually do better sometimes, And I think I taught maybe I taught some of these kids something different and how to look at things from a different perspective, and how to, those group projects that nobody likes to do because, if they don't do their work, that I can't handle that because I have to get a good grade because, and if you're not going to do your part, well, how all that goes. But it was a lot of good experiences, but a lot of very scary, things. And I'm not a perfectionist, but yet I want to do well. I wanted to do well. My grades were very, very important. Yeah. I remember a teacher one time telling me, we were going over a test, and he had marked one of my answers wrong, and it was actually right. I had gotten an A, and I went and told him, Professor, you marked this wrong, and, that's 3 or 4 extra points. And he said, but it's still an A. And I said, no, but can you still change that grade? Because that could make a difference in my GPA. He goes, but it's still an A. And I was like, I'm sorry, sir, can you just change it, please? And he was just laughing at me. And he did it, but yeah, grades were very important.
Did you say you belong to a group called Bikers Against Child Abuse?
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that you are a biker?
No. I never quite got there to get my own bike, but I had lots of friends that were, so I was always on the back seat of somebody else's bike. I always kept thinking, hey, when I graduate with my master's, I'm going to go get me a motorcycle. That didn't quite happen. They're expensive. You got to pay other bills. So it's like, yeah, no. But I always wanted a motorcycle, but yeah, it just didn't happen. So,
What's your favorite ride on the back of someone else's bike?
oh, around here, there's so many. You can go, out towards Buffalo, out towards, just in any direction. Just that wind, flying through your face, and it's just wonderful. In any direction, it's great. Stopping at, what is it? I think it's Silver Falls over here. There's just so many wonderful places. I can't even begin to tell you, but we always used to call it wind therapy. And I think wind therapy is one of the best forms of therapy. I mean, I believe wholeheartedly in therapy, but wind therapy is a great one.
What was the first movie that you ever saw in a theater?
I was thinking, I don't remember the first movie. There was a little theater before Marcia Sharp became Marcia Sharp. There was a shopping center, and there was a little theater back there. And I remember, what was that movie with, I want to say Marlon Brando or something. I don't remember the name, but just theaters that aren't here anymore. The Winchester on 19th Street, and I don't remember what that other street was. I remember going, they would have these neat events for kids, and like Halloween costume contest, and they were small. I mean, I know Lubbock's big, but it wasn't crazy big. It wasn't crazy. There was a little theater even in Brownfield where I had relatives, and we would walk there. Just, you could do so many more things and walk and not be afraid. But yeah, I can't remember the very first movie that I saw, but.
What restaurant do you wish was still open?
It was a steakhouse, and I don't remember the name of it. It was like on Indiana and 66th. It was a little steakhouse. It was very family friendly. It was good food, good salad. But one of my fondest memories at that steakhouse, and she'll probably kill me, but my daughter she first started her period. I don't know if that's politically correct or not, but we were at the restaurant and she had to go to the bathroom. And then this lady comes and says, I think your daughter needs you in the bathroom. And so I go into the bathroom, and of course she's freaking out. She already knew, but still she's freaking out. It's okay, baby, And so that was the fondest memory I have of that restaurant. And it was always a good restaurant that we always went to. But yeah, that's what happened at that restaurant. I'll never forget.
Do you remember a time when weather played a significant role in your life? When it changed the outcome of something, maybe?
I don't think that it changed the outcome of anything, but it was just a scary time when we had our tornado. I think I was 7, 8. I was born in 62. That was about, so I was not quite 8 yet. And we had our tornado, and it was coming, and everybody knew. And we went to my grandmother's house because she had a cellar in her backyard. A lot of people had cellars in their backyards. And I remember everybody running over to grandma's, and we're rushing, get down in the cellar, and my father was handing me down to somebody below. And when they grabbed, under your arms, the wind came, and I remember it blowing me up, and they're holding on to me, and my legs are dangling up in the air. And, it was just that one, and everybody's holding on to everything and getting back in there. So that was just a very memorable weather event that I remember back then.
When someone visits you for the first time in Lubbock, where do you take them? What place in Lubbock is the must-see place?
I think our museum. I love our Texas Tech Museum and the Ranching Heritage Center. I try to tell them come during this time because they have, the Ranching Heritage Center has different events for different holidays or whatever, like candlelight at the ranch and just different things. It's just a really beautiful place to see. In the museum, they have different events and shows, and those are two of the main things. And then just downtown are different. Now we have that tornado little memorial, and then we have another memorial. Just things like that. I'm very much into art, and then First Friday Art Trails, or if they come during that time, those are a lot of fun. So we have a lot of good things to do.
What's something that might make you angry about the South Plains?
I guess a little bit is our lack of, we've moved forward a lot, but I wish we had more culturally or more things for people to do. And I realize that weather and location and all this has a lot to do with it, but I really wish we had something more like a zoo, just different things like that. I just wish we had a little bit more. And then it doesn't make me angry, but our weather can drive us crazy. You don't know from one moment to the next whether it's going to rain, snow, whether the wind, or you're going to have a sandstorm, which is now called a haboob. But, you just never know what's going to happen.
What do you love most about life on the South Plains?
The unpredictability. You never know what it's going to do from one moment to the next. You just kind of have to be prepared. You keep an umbrella or a towel or something in your car because you don't know if you're going to get wet or be full of dust or what.
How did you survive the pandemic in 2020 and since then?
Still going on. That was very, very, very hard. Stayed indoors, worked from home sometimes, or at the office when nobody else was there. Because it was scary, mainly because I didn't want my mother to get sick. And that's who we were like, I don't want to do anything to jeopardize her. But you just kept going. It was just something that, okay, it's here, it's happening, and you still got to work, you still got to clean, you still got to do all these things. So you just got to keep going and pray that you didn't get sick, or pray for those who did get sick and cry for those who did die. But you kept going. That's pretty much.
What's the biggest change since you've lived in Lubbock that you can remember?
The growth. It's growing. What was the further? I can't even remember what the furthest street was going south and north. And now it's just on and on. You're at 100 and whatever. 82nd was the loop just outside the loop was pretty far. Didn't go much further than that. And then 82nd, and then it just kept growing on either side of the loop. The loop would take you all around everywhere. It's just, I wouldn't say it's grown very fast, but it has grown quite a bit. One of the things I tell everybody another thing is, Lubbock is one of the easiest cities to get around in because everything is alphabetical and numerical. And people don't understand that. And I'm like, well, I think it's, I guess because I've lived here all my life, but it's very simple if you just grasp that concept. It's alphabetical and numerical. So,
If you had to move away from Lubbock, what would you miss the most?
family. Because I think the most important people in my life live here. I have family everywhere, but the most important ones are right here, and that's what I would miss, is seeing all my littles now.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you today, MaryRose. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This has been a conversation with MaryRose Garcia, resident of the South Plains for close to 60 years. We'd like to thank her for sharing her story with us, as well as the sponsors of Lubbock's Untold Stories, the Helen Jones Foundation, Inc., and the Department of English at Texas Tech University, as well as our community partners and supporters, Lubbock's Adult Activity Centers, the Louise Hopkins Underwood Center for the Arts, the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, the Special Collections Library and Sowell Collection at Texas Tech, and Texas Tech Public Media, KTTZ. We hope you'll join us next time for another Untold Story.